right. So really excited to interview Rey Leon today. Ray is the founder and operator of the Leap Institute, which is an incredible organization in California, probably the largest fleet of EVs in the NEMT space. And Jing and I are really excited to, talk with you, Ray, about sort of, how you built your business and how you run everything with EVs. Really happy to have you on here with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Great. So I guess it would be great if we could start off with you just telling us a little bit about the Leap Institute and your mission and sort of
Mhm.
how that evolved into entering the NEMT space.
Sure. Well, I've been doing air quality policy and environmental justice systems change for the past 20 years at least. Actually, to past 24 years. I started in 2001 and was leading the efforts of an organization out of the Bay Area here in the San Joaquin Valley to engage hundreds of families throughout the region of the San Joaquin Valley, which covers 8 counties, to engage them on the issue of air quality and asthma. During that time, the asthma rates were skyrocketing, particularly amongst the Latino children. So definitely an issue of concern and of interest to me because my beginnings of being an organizer was when I started the health fair in my hometown of Huron, where I currently am also the mayor. In 1994, I came home one summer and volunteered with the clinic, the United Health Center, and started the first health fair in my community. Went back to Berkeley, where I was an undergrad, all fired up about health fairs because I seen the impact it had in my farm worker community in rural parts of the San Joaquin Valley. And I was able to get the support to start the first bilingual health fair on the west side of Berkeley while attending UC Berkeley. And so that went on for numerous years. They both continued after that. Every summer I'll come back home to Huron to organize a health fair. So public health has always been a primary focus of my work, my life, and my efforts. In 2008, I left that last organization after having been able to advance air quality policies to impact air quality in the San Joaquin Valley at a state level and that also at a regional level in regards to regulations to reduce or particular to some extent particular matter, at least in terms of our advocacy at the with the federal policies and all that stuff, but also to change around the body of leadership to have a stronger voice in regards to public health on the board itself. I spearheaded the Environmental Justice Advisory Group at the Air Pollution Control District, which was intended to really bring in more folks from the community that were mostly impacted, the most vulnerable, to be able to have a voice and to be able to make change and keep that going. I spearheaded the development of the environmental justice plan, essentially, which then spurred an effort to identify actual environmental justice areas within the region, which then led to a study of cumulative health impacts, which led to the influence of the development of the Callan viral screen at a statewide level, because agencies were saying that they were investing in environmental justice communities, uh, but that wasn't really the case because they considered the region EJ, so they would invest in certain areas that really weren't EJ. And so with the Callan viral screen, which we heavily influenced and definitely supported to advance, has been able to really pinpoint impacts in terms of environmental justice communities and in their proximity. So I've been doing a lot of work in terms of cleaning up the air and ensuring that the most vulnerable are protected. You know, that they're healthier, that our quality of life improves. And when I moved, when I left that agency, I started the Leap, which originally was the San Joaquin Valley Latino Environmental Advancement Project. And there is more of the same advocacy at the state level, at the regional level, fighting for clean air, fighting for environmental justice, organizing at a grassroots level, organizing committees, co-founding other coalitions and networks, and so just continuing the good work to improve quality of life of the region. In 2014, I had a program called the Participatory Action Research Resource Center in collaboration with UC Merced, UC Davis, UC Berkeley, and we basically provided resources to do participatory action research. So I had some interns from the local university, Fresno State, and we were engaged by a consultant that was working with the senator at the time, who ultimately spearheaded the advancement of electric vehicles and electric vehicle charger infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Pavley,
Mm-hmm.
and so her consultant was doing research and trying to get a better idea on the cost of fuel on people in the San Joaquin Valley. So we supported in putting together a survey with some of the like prominent survey developers in California. In this case, UC Davis, the survey queen, I called her. But
Mm-hmm.
we put together a survey and we implemented it with farm workers throughout the West Side. And there was a study that was published, an article and a study that was published with that data. And it's titled something like Driving Out of the Red, and so essentially it focused on the farm workers and fuel, the cost of fuel, and about over 40% of farm workers were paying no, over 60% of farm workers were paying 40% of their monthly wages for transportation.
Wow.
And one of the fields that we surveyed farm workers, there was three farm workers not far from Huron, and each one of them came from at least an hour away. None of them from Huron. If they would have been from Huron, they would have been 20 minutes away, right? But
Mm-hmm.
these folks were coming in from 3 hours, well, at least an hour away in their own vehicle from different areas, right? So they couldn't even commute, right? So just the organizing of it, and ultimately the impact of it is what led me to begin to see how pollution vehicles were actually poverty perpetuators,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in after doing that study and kind of seeing that impact, I started to recall when I was a child. One of my cousins was in a car accident, and they hospitalized him in Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
They found out that he also had valley fever, apart from the injuries that he obtained during the accident. And so told us that they had to cure him from the valley fever before they could tend his other injuries. And so long story short, they ended up pulling the plug. He would pass away, and a lot of family from Michoacan, Mexico, was in Huron.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day that they said they're going to pull the plug, well, everybody was going to be out there. So in Huron, there's a lot of raiteros, people, retired farm workers usually, that give rides, right, and usually rides to the doctor. And so all the family, they got raiteros to the hospital to be with my cousin in his last moments, even though he wasn't conscious, but it was going to be his last day, right? And my mom and I, we couldn't leave till something happened where we couldn't leave till later, which meant 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up getting the rural bus. And I was a kid. I just remember getting in the bus and the sun just hitting my face, it being hot, stopping numerous times. Each time I'm over there trying to sleep, And it was just a 3 hour bus ride, to get to Fresno, which is
Mm-hmm.
about 45 minutes in the car, you
Yeah.
know. And finally we get out there, and that gets basically etched into my memory, right?
Yeah.
And so, as an environmental justice activist and leader, I engage the Council of Government, which controls the monies for public transit, transportation, and roads. And
Mhm.
essentially, they said, "Well, we can't do nothing about it because it's already expensive as it is, and it's really expensive if we add another line."
Mhm.
And I said, "All right, well, okay, well, that's too bad." And so fast forward, we do this study in 2014, and we learned this data, and then I recall that memory. And at that time, the city of Huron, this is before I was mayor. I didn't run for mayor till 2016. The city of Huron, they had two hybrid vehicles, two Priuses. And the city manager at the time jokingly said, "Oh yeah, we just use them to go to the post office because basically they got them for free, right?" And I was
Mhm.
thinking, I said, "Well, why don't we use them to do the people's work for public health,
Mhm.
And how about we train the existing raiteros to use those vehicles and set up a little dispatch." And so that we could get everybody to the doctor's appointment so that they don't have to be in the bus for 3 hours and just it's a terrible, commute. Yeah, I mean, in 3 hours it takes somebody from here on to get to LA.
Mhm.
Why do we have to go through that to get to Fresno, right? And if you have a doctor's appointment, I mean, shoot, you're gonna miss it by the time you get there, right? And even when you get there, you're gonna have to turn around and within the next couple of hours and get the bus back, right?
Mhm.
So it's totally inconvenient for a rural community for in terms of different types of services to be able to find that as a utility, right?
Mhm.
So anyhow, I they said, "All right, well, present to us." So I put together a PowerPoint. I went to the council meeting, and I presented to them, and the mayor shot it down. "Oh, we don't want to take up the liability." Then the mayor pro tem said, "Oh, you don't want to deal with those logistics." Then just everybody discouraged and everybody shut it down. And at that point, I was like, well, me, my whole life, I've been a fixer. I've been a maker. I've been a person that's solution based, right? And so they forced me to start thinking about it and try to figure out how else I could make it happen, right? Because at this point, it was kind of, you know, kind of just stamped or how would I say it? Like when they do the cattle with the
Oh yeah.
metal
Mhm.
you know it was already in my brain. And it's like and during this time I was my mom's right there because she was a cancer survivor. And so after you
Mhm.
survive cancer, you always go to the doctor, checking your blood, checking your iron, checking this, doing that, blah blah blah. And her doctors were in Bakersfield, which is an hour and a half away. So
Yeah.
because I was in a situation where I was a consultant, I was my own boss, I had more flexibility than my siblings. They never had the opportunity or could get off of work or didn't want to, whatever, you know. And so I was my mom's, raitero, and so sometimes when I'd be out of town, out of state in meetings and conferences, my mom would call me, midnight. And I, what's up, mom? She goes, "Oh, I can't sleep. I'm just really nervous." She'd be like really, really like I think unhealthy type of nervous, like she
Mhm.
didn't know who was going to give her a ride the following day. She didn't have a ride, so then I would be on the horn trying to find somebody, and because people always fall through, and next thing you know, she can't sleep because she's not gonna get that right anymore. So,
Mhm.
anyways, that was very stressful for my mom, and more for her than for me. But it's it's something that kind of like just bothered me a lot, right?
Mhm.
And so I already had this idea of, all right, well, you know, uh, 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 this ride sharing program, and this is before the plugins were on the ground. Really, I mean,
Mhm.
this is a hybrid, kingdom time. You know what I mean? This is when we're just hearing the stories about the plugins coming down. Maybe there's some somewhere, but no infrastructure whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And so in 2014, I started really having conversations with people about the program that I started to envision. And in June, I wrote an article about it, and it came out in Zocalo Public Square with my colleague Lisa Margonelli, who really supported me and said, "No, you should write something." And she
Mhm.
was a researcher for Pavli on behalf of New America Media New America Foundation. And so I wrote the article, and that was like the first, first idea, the first draft, right? And so I had conversations for the next 2 years. Had a lot of meetings, did a lot of just thinking about it, and engaging folks in the Bay Area and Sacramento. Just a lot of pro bono work, lot of work, to get to where we are today, right? And so in 2016, before we there was a meeting, and I went. It was with the state, like a little conference in Fresno, and I went, and I remember there was this older gentleman that said, "Yeah, if you have something you really want
Mm-hmm.
going on, 3, 2, 1," and so
So, so
so I took his word for it, and I moved back to Huron in 2016 with the intent of starting Green Raiteros, right? And so there was a shop in Huron across from where my dad lived, and I said, I'll move in with my dad. He's in his 70s. My mom's in her late 70s as well. I'll spend more time with him because because I was so busy. The only time I'll come to visit would be my mom, and that's to give her a ride. Wouldn't have time to visit my dad, and and that would bother me. That I didn't
mm-hmm.
have that opportunity. So I said, well, then I'll just be my launch pad will be my dad's, and I'll see him every week, at least one day a week. But even then, he would say, well, "You're never around. Where are you?" Like, he'd still complain.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty funny. And both my parents are gone now, but I'm glad I moved back during that time to spend that much more time with them, and be close to them and assist them however I could. But anyhow, so I came back home and just started hacking away, and finally we got some support, capacity support, in the later part of 2016, and also in the early part of 2017. We were able to identify a funder who provided us the resources to acquire the shop, and to install 10 electric vehicle chargers, and to install two DC fast chargers. The first two DC fast chargers west of the 99 were installed
Mm-hmm.
by the Leap Institute at in the city of Fresno on the southwest side by the the
Mm-hmm.
Food Co shopping center. And
Mm-hmm.
so they still are there to this day. They EVgo names them, and they asked me what I wanted to name them, so I named them after my mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
Romualdo and Imelda. And
Uh-huh.
so that was so that our cars could charge when they're in Fresno if they needed to, right? But with the 10 level 2 chargers at the shop, and then we had an office with a storefront. We started the service. The service began doing more of a model like Watertown, where we had volunteers driving their vehicles, and we covered them with reimbursements. And when we got our electric vehicles in the early part of, I think, or the later part of early part of 2018, then staff started driving the EVs. We started with two, a Bolt and a BMW i3,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when we started working it that way.
Uh-huh.
When pandemic hit, all our volunteers disappeared,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of rough, and but we kept on going, and so at one point when we had a lot of resources, grants intended for other services other than medical. We were giving rights to school, to social services,
Mm-hmm.
but when those monies are not available, then we still are doing NEMT. And
Mm-hmm.
we provide a very comfortable ride, a very clean ride where we're not polluting the air.
Mm-hmm.
Polluted air just makes your health complications worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're sick, breathing in polluted air is only going to make you sicker, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
so that's basically in a nutshell what I did, why I did it, and it's
yeah.
at the beginning of the day, it's because of my love for my mom. That's
Yeah.
why I did it.
Yeah. We all started with mom and pop, right? So, yeah. How many vehicles are you running right now for the service?
How many what?
How many vehicles? How many vans?
Oh, vehicles, we got well, for the whole fleet statewide, we have 19 Teslas and I think 10 boats.
So 29 vehicles.
And we have one van, one ADA van, which we're about to get a second ADA van.
Okay, that's great. So you have like 30 plus vehicles, EVs. So how do you guys acquire those vehicles? How did you?
Well, and all the vehicles are electric vehicles. And
Yeah.
so we are the I mentioned that when I started the LEAP, it was called the San Joaquin Valley Latino Environmental Advancement Project. So when we became an actual 501c3 in 2017, we renamed it to the LEAP Institute, and LEAP
Okay.
stands for Latino Equity Advocacy and Policy. And
Nice.
so in the very get go, we started working to get grants. This isn't about any shareholders. This isn't about making a CEO rich.
Mm-hmm.
This is about serving the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that mantra, we submit grants to provide different services and to expand EV infrastructure. And actually, my city of Huron has the most EV chargers per capita in the country. We
Nice.
have 40
Wow.
electric vehicle chargers, and that's for a city with a population of 6,200 people.
Okay,
Are
So
that's
those all
it,
affiliated with the Leap Institute?
sure. Yeah,
well,
that's great.
they're all affiliated with the mayor's work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
that's.
other than the first 10 is all LEAP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, actually, the first 10 and then the other 12, because there's other advocacy work we did when Volkswagen got caught cheating on their pollution data with their
Mm-hmm.
vehicles. California caught them, ARB, and California got the lion's share of the money from the lawsuit,
Mm-hmm.
which forced Volkswagen to pay for the expansion of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So
Yeah.
what Volkswagen did is that instead of paying for it, they established a company to do it,
Yeah.
which is
Charge
called
them.
Electrify America.
Yeah. Electrify.
Electrify America.
Yeah.
And so in the first phase of their investment, they tried to not invest in vulnerable communities, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we found that out, we pushed back. We had meetings with the state. We had meetings with colleagues, and we met with the company out there in Sacramento. We submitted a letter on behalf of the Leap Institute to the state, and then we also submitted one on behalf of a bunch of mayors and council of governments of Fresno, pushing back.
Mm-hmm.
That they should invest in the first phase of investments in the low income communities, vulnerable communities, and so ultimately we won. And one of the first things that happened was that they apart from focusing on investing in disadvantaged communities, they ended up adopting the Fresno metropolitan area as another region to fund,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it was just Sacramento region, San Diego region, LA region, but then our effort brought in a fourth region as well,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
the Fresno metropolitan area, which
Mm-hmm.
Huron falls under that umbrella
Sure.
according to their effort, which is a good precedence for future things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then I get a phone call from the guys from the company that is no longer around, SemaConnect, because they installed our first 10 EV chargers. They gave me a phone call and said, "Hey, Ray, well, we got to install some chargers and we're really running, trying to get this done fast. Do you have any apartment complexes?" I sure
Mm-hmm.
do. So I connected them to 3 apartment complexes, and they installed 4 EV chargers per apartment complex. So that's 12, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now we got
Yeah.
22. Then at the city hall and the PD, we have another 4 that are
Mm-hmm.
solar based, which really I don't have too much faith in those type. The
Mm-hmm.
solar only, they got to be grid connected
Mm-hmm.
unless they got a lot of solar. But and then the elementary school, unbeknownst to me, installed 4 chargers. So that's 8. That's 30. But I worked with a developer out here, Fresno Housing Alliance, Fresno Housing Authority,
Mm-hmm.
and I pushed that they could set up the infrastructure to install chargers. They installed 10, so now we're up to 40. So
So
so that's where
yeah.
we're at.
Wow.
So how about the
That's where we're at.
vehicles? Ray, how about all the vehicles? How did you guys acquire those vehicles?
Yeah, with grants and with
Oh,
a
nice.
focus of providing access to our communities, you know. And
I
so
see.
and we started off in Huron, but now we cover all of Fresno County, Madera County, Kings
Mm-hmm.
County, Tulare County, and Kern County,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably more than half of the population of the San Joaquin Valley. And
Mm-hmm.
so hundreds of families, thousands of miles per month, tens of thousands of miles per month
Mm-hmm.
traveled, and we employ about 40 people. And so a lot of them are locals. So we've been able to diversify employment in our region and diversify the economy to some extent, right?
Okay.
With the service that we provide without having to, you know, undermine, anything or anyone, right? Our drivers earn an average of about probably about 19-20 dollars an hour,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to other companies that do the same type of work that pay
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage,
Yeah.
and our drivers have access to retirement, the Cal Save
Mm-hmm.
and health insurance and all that stuff. So it's we try to make sure that it really represents the values that we've been fighting for as environmental justice leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So as a nonprofit that does NEMT, are there any particular grants, whether it's at the federal or the state level, that you sort of recommend they go after?
At the federal level, I don't think there's anything right now, honestly.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
At the state level, you got to have a good plan. You got to make sure that you're covering some gaps.
Mm-hmm.
There's nonprofits that maybe it's not really what you want to do, but it's something that's really needed. You could give the Leap Institute a call and we'll work with you. Help you make it happen. Like I said, we're basically statewide now, and our focus is rural regions that are agriculturally oriented, meaning farm workers,
Yeah.
right? My father arrived to Huron in 1951 from Michoacan, Mexico, 14-year-old orphan,
Mm-hmm.
undocumented,
Mm-hmm.
but in 57 he became a bracero farm worker, which then
Mm-hmm.
provided him his documents, and went back, married my mom, brought her, and been here in Huron ever since. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So my interest is really making sure that farm worker families have access to an improved quality of life, have
Mm-hmm.
access to opportunities, have access to quality health care, because historically that's not the case, and not just historically. Right now, today,
Mm-hmm.
in many
Yeah.
of our communities, that is still not the case. We are forever, doing outreach and letting people know, and really here in Huron, due to the outreach that we've done,
Mm-hmm.
we've increased the amount of people that I get NEMT rights. They're not, they begin as our clients, but after a while, it's like we're spreading wealth, right?
Yeah.
And the NEMT intermediaries or whoever, they don't pay us for the outreach, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing everybody a favor, right?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate sometimes when these intermediaries give us, like in the beginning, and when we stopped being contract, we stopped our contract with one of the intermediaries
Mm-hmm.
because they're just giving us rides that ultimately were costing us money.
Yeah.
Like it's like, hey,
Yeah.
that's not fair.
Good.
And honestly, I think there's some work that needs to get done,
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that organizations that are nonprofits, and even I'm sure small companies could be able to do this work without having to try to see where they cut corners or do something where maybe undermine their mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because from what I see is, fortunately we get grants and we're able to cover some of what we don't get paid from the NEMT rides, because we get paid like about between 40 to 80% of the ride. So it doesn't cover it all. So which is very concerning, in many occasions because I mean, you want to get dollar for dollar, right? I mean, that's equity, that's fair, right? And so and we got to figure it out. We try to maximize the 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 seats, right? But if you're in a small rural community, it's very sparse or very not so many people that are going that same day to the same place around the same time, right? And now I get it, in terms of the public transit, why it's so expensive because it's a bus for like 30 people and only 5 people need to get to Fresno, and so why would they invest more to make it faster, right? So I think that's the challenge in the larger picture right now. Larger picture. The technology has arrived to a certain level, and I think the innovation, at least of the Leap Institute, we pride ourselves in leading innovation for equity. It's arrived to a certain level that still policy has not caught up. The systems, the political systems, the systems of efficiency have not caught up to the innovative technology, right? And so that's where we're at right now because if they were caught up, then I think it would be something way better for everybody, so that we could have a fluid transportation infrastructure in California, where then people don't have to feel that they have to own their own vehicle. We were brainwashed in the early 1900s, to own your own car. And then they took out all the trolleys from all the cities, including Fresno, because the rubber industry and the petroleum industry, wanted more cars on the road so that they could sell more of what they made, right? They took out the trolleys all over America, and so that they really surged this idea that we should own our own vehicle, and so I'm hoping that we could be part of the changing of the paradigm to where we take people out of that bubble of needing to own your own vehicle to the community knowing they have a right to own their own fleet,
Yeah.
right? Because transportation is really a human right. Especially when you're in a community that's far from everything and you don't have that hospital, you don't have that grocery store, you don't have that park, you don't have a lot of the infrastructure that you should have. Part of the struggle is getting that infrastructure done. The other part is if it's not done yet, you should have access to it somehow, right? And so, having said that, we also use our fleet to take farm worker families camping on weekends. We take them to San Simeon State Park, which is basically a beach, a little forest by the beach, and they love it. The kids, 80% of the families never been to camping. About 60% of them never been to the California coast.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
And that to me is an injustice,
Yeah.
You should be able to, bathe in the little forest, bathe in the beach, if especially if you live not far from it. We're an hour and a half from it. Huron is an hour and a half from the beach, an hour and a half from Yosemite, 2.5 hours from Boyle Heights, 2.5 hours from Berkeley. We're the heart of the state.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of everything.
Yes.
Not like one person said, "Oh, you're in the middle of nowhere." I said, "No, I'm in the middle of everything, brother. I don't have to drive like 5 hours to get to the beach.
Yeah. So how many?
So
Yeah, actually, now you have 30 plus vehicles. How many trips do you guys provide currently? And how do you measure the success for your this program, this service you are doing? So in your considering your nonprofit context.
mhm. In terms of trips, I'm the executive director. My operations director is Eric. But in terms of trips, every day we got cars out. Every day we have cars going throughout this region, the central and southern part of the San Joaquin Valley. In terms of trips, I think the last I checked, there's probably about 12.
To,
I don't know, but what I do know, it's about 40,000 miles a month.
Okay, 40,000 miles a month you guys traveled.
And
Like,
so that number is important in regards to the amount of greenhouse gases we're not spewing into the air.
yeah.
The amount of criterion pollutants we're not spewing into the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's it's huge. So our contribution isn't only to getting people from their door to the doctor
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that they get their follow up so that they don't get sicker and they do get better,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's also about cleaning their air
Yeah,
so that they don't have another culprit unseen that is undermining their health.
got it. Okay.
Mhm. And I know a lot of even for-profit NEMT companies are curious about EVs. I'm wondering how much money can you save with an EV relative to, sort of paying for gas? And I don't know if like maintenance differences factor into it as well, but I'd love
Maintenance
to get a sense
factors
of
in
how
a
much
great
cheaper
deal.
they are.
Maintenance factors in a great deal because you don't have to change the oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of brakes, I mean the brakes you don't. I mean, for as much as we drive, we still haven't changed the brakes on none of our any of our vehicles. And we got some cars that are already at a over 100,000 miles
Mm-hmm.
because the car has a system. What do they call it? The where you take your foot off the velocity, and the system kicks in and it regenerates energy
Yeah.
into your
Mm-hmm.
battery, right? And so meaning you don't have to use your brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So they last a lot longer. Of course, maintenance in terms of tires and windshields if they get cracks, which is something common in the rural
Yeah.
areas, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you drive too close to a diesel truck. Don't drive close to a diesel truck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't tailgate diesel trucks,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but at the end of the day, the electricity that you use to charge a vehicle is cheaper, probably about by 25% than fuel.
Mm-hmm.
If you charge it at home, then it's a residential rate, so it's even cheaper, right? If you charge it in a public charger that charges money, like a commercial one,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as cheap, but it's cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and you want to be just observing it. You want to be don't just take it for granted. Just look at the numbers and do your own calculations because sometimes there's chargers that might charge you more,
Mm-hmm.
and or just for plugging in a certain amount. So you might have to think about it. All right, well I should plug in. If I'm gonna plug in here, I better plug in for at least 4 hours, and that's how it's gonna be good or whatever, right? Depending on what kind of charger it is. If it's a supercharger for the Teslas, well, those, all the vehicles, you don't want to charge them more than 80%. More than 80% charging deteriorates the battery faster. So to conserve them, you cap it at 80%.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're charging a Tesla at a supercharger and you have it set up at 80%, it goes beyond 80%, they start charging you idling or being in the space when you shouldn't be in the space anymore, especially if there's other cars wanting to charge in line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all connected with computers. All these cars know where they're at, and if they're plugged in or not, or if the computers will know that you've charged already 30 miles. You only need 50 miles to get to where you got to go,
Mm-hmm.
so you're fine. You could go now. If you don't go now, we're gonna start charging you because you're here,
Yeah.
right? And so you got to be really, really pay attention to that, and the drivers need to pay attention to that. Really, at the end of the day.
Got it. Yeah, that's really good to hear.
And I think Blue Dot should. I mean, I don't know what Blue Dot has, but I don't think Blue Dot can help us identify who's driving the car that is being overcharged.
Mhm.
You know what I mean,
Okay.
or idling in the space or whatever. You know, and so that's something I would like. That's your guys' technology,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We know
So
Blue Dot. We are both a portfolio company of LACY, Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator Program. So yeah, they definitely really help the EV fleet manage their charging situation. That's great.
yeah. I just want to make sure that when that happens, because I see it on the app, And it's like, oh, who's doing it? And nobody knows. So we need Blue Dot to help to find out who's doing it, so we could, because we have a point system with our drivers,
Yeah.
plus points and negative points,
Oh, yeah.
to try to moderate behavior and encourage good behavior.
Oh, that's good. That's a really good idea. So which app do you use to monitor drivers' behavior?
We have a GPS system
Mm-hmm.
on the vehicle, so we'll know if they're speeding.
Mm-hmm.
And they got cameras, so we got cameras looking. And I don't think other NEMT providers do that.
No, actually,
I don't think they
most
have
of them,
cameras on.
yeah, most of them that they have GPS with the camera because that's an insurance requirement.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good,
So
awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Because yeah, I mean that's important, and you could the cameras with the AI tell you if they're using their phone or and that's a big no, right? And so yeah,
That's great.
Got it. So, also wanted to ask you a little bit about sort of the role of electric vehicles in maybe bringing in more revenue. So, I'm wondering if having an electric fleet has let you, win grants, win over sort of more riders who otherwise wouldn't be interested, win donors who sort of like what you're doing with the clean air and the environmental friendly nature of it all.
you know uh the grants, we don't win grants, we have to compete for grants. There's a lot of people with a lot of good ideas that aren't what we do, other type of models out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really need to compete. In terms of clients, I mean, the client just wants to get to their appointment. There's been some clients that have they just don't want to be late, they don't want to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really the the substance of our green raiteros
Mm-hmm.
is the service to the people. At the end of the day, that's what matters ultimately. In terms of the electric vehicles, we've gotten awards, been recognized, and all that. But nobody's stepped up saying, "Hey, I want to give you money because of that." That hasn't happened. So it's we got to compete. Yeah, it's
Mm. So
we would love it to happen. So if anybody's out there that wants to, represent their company in a clean way
mhm.
and wants to contribute 100K, we'll put your logo on the vehicle, man, or on the fleet.
Yeah,
If it's ongoing, then we could talk some more.
sure. Yeah.
But honestly, I think the state really should step up because we're helping the state reduce greenhouse gases. We're trying to reach the goal, and I've done a lot of work, a lot of advocacy over the past 20 something years to get us where we're at. You know, I was part of the effort for the SB 100, which is 100% clean energy, which is where I got this hat
Uh-huh.
when we were
Ah,
walking the Capitol,
Uh-huh.
right? To take California to 100% clean energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we won that bill, and it got implemented, and now we're talking about by 2045, California will be 100% clean energy, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been helping to try to get that there, not just in terms of the policy advancement, but obviously in terms of the infrastructure with tangible, examples of what it could look like.
Yeah.
And what it could look like is having EV fleets for communities,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
mhm.
Where if we don't have so much of a need for, imagine that, if you could just have access to a vehicle in the fleet whenever you want it, then all of a sudden your driveway,
Mm-hmm.
you extend your garage and make, a larger living space, or your man cave, or
Mm-hmm.
or maybe your little tiendita,
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
where you sell popsicles out of or something, right?
True.
And so just imagine that, and the roads wouldn't have to be as wide, more trees,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we would traditionally park cars, now you have more trees. We green it up. We suck up more GHGs. We have more shade. You can walk more. It's hard to walk in the middle of the sun when it's 100 degrees.
Yeah.
But if you got a bunch of trees, it's going to be cooler.
Yeah. So
It's going to be
yeah,
cooler.
I know. So as a EV fleet operator, do you guys? I know you guys contract with brokers like Motive Care, CTC. Do you actually get a better terms with brokers So do brokers actually give you more
There,
favorable terms? How do you
there's no favoritism.
really? Oh,
There's no
so
favoritism.
that's definitely a initiative you can champion on that. The brokers needs to actually give you guys a better terms because of
Well, I invite you to join the alliance to do exactly that.
yeah, I know. We need people like you to champion on this.
But a champion is nothing with a team.
Yeah.
So I need you guys to be a part of it. Let's talk about that some
Yeah,
more.
I know. We need to get you guys really like on technology more and make sure the efficiency is there. And then we also work with Lacey's trying to support their Olympics. I think Lacey actually is working with the Olympic LA 2028, right? Olympic
Hmm.
Committee, like to bring more EVs to the game. So because yeah, the organized
How can we help? We'll connect the barrios to the Olympics. Let's do
yeah,
that.
definitely. Yeah, so we're gonna partner to support Olympics. It's gonna be a completely zero emission Olympics. So yeah, it will be really exciting. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, so
I got a lot of EJ colleagues and allies out there in the whole LA area,
mhm.
so we could work with them and for to advance connectivity. And there's some folks already doing some of
Yeah,
that out there. If you've ever seen that video,
mhm.
what's it called? The one that they put out. It's a cartoon. The cartoon about
Yeah.
EVs. The one with Mark Ruffalo. Have you seen that one?
Not really. I need to see it. So
Yeah.
let me know the name of that movie.
It's Veloz made it.
Mhm.
Veloz made it,
Okay.
and they work to advancing EV vehicles and infrastructure. But anyhow,
Mhm.
it's got different folks from all over California that are working towards empowering EV
Yeah.
infrastructure, and there's some folks from a couple of different folks from the LA area that are doing something.
Yeah, so I think actually in California is definitely a good market for EV operators. We have seen more and more even NEMT fleet operators. They are looking into EV solutions. I think I mean there's a various challenges in terms of adopting EV and in NEMT, especially if you provide the wheelchairs and stretcher trips, because most of those EVs currently they are now really like cannot be retrofitted for wheelchairs or stretcher transport. So yeah, that's one. But otherwise,
Mhm.
I think ambulatory trips like you guys provide on EV, I feel like it's a really good solution, good idea. So I'm glad actually to have you share your experience with us. So James, do you have a more question?
Just one last question from me. Choosing between the Tesla Assume Model 3 and the Chevy Volt, like what's your pick?
Well, for this service, the Tesla becomes way more handy due to the fact that in 10 minutes you could charge it like 50, 60 miles
Mm.
or 100
Yeah.
miles. You know what I mean? Just depends. Because if it's a 350 kilowatt charger, then yeah, it's many more miles and a faster rate, and that's a game
Mm,
changer. Otherwise, if it's a DCFC, like a boat with a DCFC, then you can only do in 1 hour 150 miles. So it's definitely a game changer to be able to charge, in minutes, all of what you need to complete your ride.
mm. So the charging speed is actually important because you're racking up
Mhm.
so many miles like a day. So
Uh-huh.
like fast charging is really important. That's really good.
Yeah. If you're doing multiple rides that day,
Yeah,
and so when you drop off, then you have opportunity to do plug in for 10 minutes, then you or 20 minutes, and you fully charge. Actually, in about 20 minutes, you fully
I see.
charge.
So do you
Which is amazing.
on the
Yeah.
operation side, do you have an operating protocol that drivers when they park the vehicle, they need to charge overnight so that the vehicle will be ready next day in the morning? So that part.
Most of the vehicles are at our Huron hub, so overnight they all
Okay,
charge.
so
Yeah,
overnight you do overnight charging. Okay. Mhm.
yeah, and if they're not charging at our hub, they're charging at a public site somewhere in one of the counties.
got it.
Yeah, because we don't have chargers at people's homes for our
I
vehicles. That's not how we
okay,
do it.
got it. That makes sense. Okay, so
Got it. Well, yeah, Ray, so glad to have you with us. Learned a lot about EVs and really love what you're doing with the Leap Institute. We're so excited to be supporting you. And I guess looking forward to seeing you at NEMTAC very soon.
yeah, thank you. Yes,
Same here.
thank you.
Looking forward to being out there in Texas and hanging out and meeting new people, learning new things, and sharing cool
Yeah,
stories
definitely. Yeah.
and cool jokes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure you have a lot of more.
Most important.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ray. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. So we'll see you in Dallas
Awesome,
in a
folks.
couple of weeks.